Do you want to be successful in prison? Well, then think about right now, what is the best possible outcome that I can get from this experience? My name is Michael Santos and I'm with Prison Professors, and I hope that you look at some of the content that we make available on our website, because we are always striving to show individuals what steps they can take today to make sure that when they come back from prison, they emerge with their dignity intact, with opportunities to prosper and to have a meaningful, relevant life. But you don't have to wait until you get out of prison to start positioning yourself for a relevant, meaningful life. Those of you who know my story know that I went to prison in 1987 because of some very bad decisions I started making when I was 20 years old. And during that period of time, I got myself into so much trouble by trafficking in cocaine that a federal judge sentenced me to serve a 45-year federal prison sentence. That can be somewhat suffocating unless an individual starts with a very clear plan of how he or she is going to emerge successfully. And through our program, the Straight A Guide, we really strive to show what strategies worked for the people who are part of our team, including my partner Shon Hopwood, who's currently a professor of law at Georgetown, but at one time was serving time, a decade in federal prison for armed bank robbery. Same story goes for my other partner, Justin Paperny, who at one time was a high-flying financial services professional, but went to prison because of violating securities laws, served a little over a year in a federal minimum security camp, and has since emerged to lead the white collar, I think it's a white collar advice, the consulting service for defense attorneys, for prison systems, and most importantly, for individuals who are going into the system for the first time. We have a breadth and depth of experience that can help individuals who are going into the criminal justice system, as well as individuals who are serving time in the criminal justice system. In fact, as I'm preparing this video right now in late June 2018, more than 100,000 people from across the country are going through our Straight A Guide program in prisons across America. And do you know why that is? It is because prison administrators recognize that there is a certain discipline that is necessary for an individual to get through prison and come back successfully. But we also know, and they also know, that people in prison can embrace this message if it comes from individuals who came back to society successfully. I'm not talking about who came back to society modestly or living on the edge of mediocrity, where they're always 1 or 2 weeks away from struggle and never being able to get off their feet. I'm talking about coming back to society successfully, to be able to put yourself in a position for a new job, to be able to put yourself in a position to launch a new business, to be able to put yourself in a position to have a meaningful life with others in your community, building strong family community ties, finding ways where you are looked at as an asset to the community rather than a liability. And if that's something that you're interested, I really encourage you, participate in our Straight A Guide program, get the maximum benefit from it, just as I got. And that begins with really starting with your mindset of figuring out what is the best possible outcome for me. And that is going to be a different outcome for many different individuals. In my case, I knew how I was defining success at the very start of my journey. It was saying, I am going to come back to society, put on a suit and tie. Nobody will know that I served a day in prison unless I told them. And I've got numerous business ventures that I'm a partner in, a principal in, an investor in, and yet I still keep revealing my story about the prison system because I've got a lot of compassion for any individual who is either going into the criminal justice system, going through the criminal justice system, or has come out of the criminal justice system. But what I also know is success does not happen by accident. It happens by identifying the clear values by which you profess to live. It follows by setting some very clearly defined goals that you can measure, that are going to be consistent with those values you defined yourself by, right? You've got to define your values. That is step number one. In my case, I knew what step number one was. It was going to be, one, don't think about what's happening to me. Rather, Think about the people that I am going to want to connect with in the future. And in my case, I knew that after 26 years in federal prison, the world was going to look at me in a very different way unless I took meaningful action steps that could move the needle and influence them to see me as something different. And today, in 2018, I'm an investor. I control more than $5 million in assets. I'm doing deals all the time in society. And all of that happened for one reason. When I was at the start of my prison journey, I was defining success and thinking about how I wanted to emerge. And because I had that very clear vision of what I wanted to do, I could take the next step and start thinking about, hey, who are the influencers? Who are the people that I'm going to want to meet in the future? I have to figure that out. I knew I didn't want to hang around with people who were in trouble with the criminal justice system. I wanted to find people who were successful. And I wanted to persuade those people to give me an opportunity or to open an opportunity, at least for me to prove myself and prove worthy of success. So that vision of values, of defining success, of coming back to society with my dignity intact is what influenced the goals that I set. 2, next step are goals, right? What goals do you have to come back here successfully? And it doesn't matter to me where you come from, because through our program, we interact with people who are literally on the Forbes billionaires list before they were 40, CEOs, high net worth individuals, as well as individuals who have been in a cycle of struggle and failure. And our job as people who've gone through prison and come back successfully is to help other people understand what steps they can take to come back strong. And if that's something that you want to know, you've got to be thinking about your goals. You've got to be thinking about how are you going to define success. In my case, it wasn't so important what I wanted, it was what the people I wanted to meet in the future would want. It was 1, I knew they would want me to educate myself. 2, they would want me to build a support network. And 3, they would want me to contribute to society in some kind of meaningful, measurable way, right? What are you doing that is going to persuade the influencers in your future to open opportunities for you? What can you do while you're in prison? That is the essential question that every individual has to answer. And that to answer that question, we've got to continue thinking about how are the decisions that I am making today putting me closer to these goals that I have established for myself. And I am not telling you to live by my values. No, you've got to have your values. You've got to determine what's important to you. What defines success for you? For many people in prison, it's developing an awesome world-class fitness routine that is going to reflect that you could have been on the Olympic team if you just weren't in prison, right? And that's totally cool, totally admirable if that's what is your highest value. But I really encourage you to always be thinking about the challenges that await anybody who's gone into the criminal justice system. Think about the job opportunities that are going to be available to you. Think about the financing opportunities that are going to be available to you. Think about the people that are going to respond to you. Think about, what you expect to do in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. When you start asking those kinds of questions, you may want to curtail somewhat your commitment to being a Olympian type athlete. And you may be wanting to think about, how can I develop my mind? How can I develop my skill set? How can I develop my vocational skills so that when I come back to society, I can overcome many of the hurdles that complicate life for so many people? I can tell you that doing 26 calendar years in federal prison put me at an extreme disadvantage. But because I lived this very disciplined, deliberate path through each of the 9,500 days that I was a prisoner, I was able to come back to society and not come back in mediocrity, but come back and crush it. And that's what I want you to do. And if you call my partner, his contact information is right below. If you contact Justin Paperny, he is going to put you on this path to get you thinking in critical ways. Develop your critical thinking skills so that you can move the needle in your life and not come back in a life of mediocrity, but come back successfully with your dignity intact, ready to be successful again the way that you have been in your past, the way that you can be again, but you've got to begin thinking about the people that are going to influence the rest of your life. And I'm not only talking about the probation officer, I'm not only talking about the judge, I'm not only talking about the people that are going to determine where you serve your time in prison. All those are very critical, but that's the immediate term. You've got to be thinking about the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And when you do that, that's when you're on the path of prison professors. That's when you are on the path of the Straight A Guide. And if you want to learn more about our Straight A Guide program, I really urge you, contact Justin Paperny. His contact information is right here. He has got a very deliberate plan that is available to any individual, and we're 100% authentic. Well, I never ask anybody to do anything that I am not doing, and you can see anything that I am doing by visiting my other businesses. Look at prisontoparadise.com, and you will see that I am not some guy out here who's full of happy talk telling you things that I haven't personally done. I personally followed this plan. My partner Justin personally follows this plan. My partner Shon personally follows this plan. And if you follow this plan, you will have world-class success when you get out of this system. That's what I encourage you to do. My name is Michael Santos. Very proud to be making this video for prison professors and White Collar Advice too, the entire team. We really hope that you have a successful journey, and we want you to know one thing: it's definitely possible. Your life might be spinning out of control today, but there is a key to success, and in our program, that key begins with attitude. Hope you have the right attitude, and I hope that you reach out to my partner, Justin Paperny, today. I am Michael Santos with Prison Professors, thanking you